So we are honored today. I feel honored today to welcome my friend. Can I call you a friend? Of course I can call you a friend.
Of course, Stuart.
Heba Al Shehhi is, as you all know, because you've all signed up for the session, the best PMO leader in the world, right? It can't be said any better than that. I'm going to embarrass you. Just close your ears for a minute, Heba, because I'm going to embarrass you horribly.
Already embarrassed.
Yes, I'm sure. So when the shortlist was announced for the awards this year, did you see what Lee said? Lee Lambert.
Lee says so many nice things, but he did say, "I feel sorry for others."
Exactly. That's exactly. He said, "I feel sorry for the other competitors."
Yeah.
Right? Competition's over. Heba's won.
I know. And I was scared of other competitors. Each one of them they had amazing profiles.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Now, I first met Heba in Saudi Arabia at the PMO conference down there. And Heba was up on stage, and there were four very senior people, including Heba, on the stage in a panel discussion. And the host was sort of asking questions about, how do you run a PMO? How do you make it effective? And the three guys with beards were sitting there giving these really nice textbook answers. And then Heba opened her mouth and she started talking about people and culture and values. And I fell in love at that point, right? And so Heba's values are incredible. Not only is Heba a very accomplished PMO leader, she's also a very accomplished artist. You got to meet tell us about that.
Sheikh of Saudi, Sheikh of Ras Al Khaimah, sorry, Sheikh Saud. He came to the opening of Ras Al Khaimah Art Festival, and I was able to tell him about my painting. It was like
fantastic,
an amazing moment. I would never forget it. Yeah.
That's
so this is not related to the PMO.
No, nothing to do with the PMO, except that what it does is it shows the humanity. And I think that humanity and values are a core part of what you do and what you achieve. Right?
And the creativity side as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So hopefully we'll touch on some of those themes throughout the session. So what I want to do, just before I start the conversation, is just encourage everybody to ask questions in the chat. I will try and keep half an eye on the chat, so you don't need to do that, Heba, but keep half an eye. I'll try and keep half an eye on the chat. And if I can incorporate some of your questions, I will absolutely do that today. This is a session for the community, by the community. Delighted to be, kind of co-sponsored with the PMO Global Alliance UAE chapter, right? So it's very much by the community, for the community. So do ask questions if they come to you. But to start off with, what I would love to do is just start with a definition of PMO, right? What is a PMO? What's it for? What do you think the PMO exists to do?
The simple term, it's any requirements that's given by the higher management to be fulfilled by a certain unit. It could be anything. It could be only to support project or control them, or to even direct projects or create projects even. So it depends on the requirements. It's just a unit that does everything that the organization needs at that point of time and achieves it.
Brilliant. So the goal of the PMO then, if I can play that back, the goal of the PMO is to help the organization achieve its goals.
Exactly. Yes.
So it's
and the sponsors as well. So not only the organizational goals, but what does the higher leaders want for the organization? How do they want to manage their projects? How do they want to manage their portfolio? What kind of gaps that are there in the organization at that point of time? So it depends on the situation of the organization itself and what's its maturity in terms of project management.
Brilliant. So let's go back in time to when you started at the Dubai Municipality, right?
Yeah.
What was the portfolio like? What was the environment like? And tell us a little about the journey from there to being conqueror of the universe.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me start by saying that I've been in Dubai Municipality for almost 19 years. So since 2005, when I was hired, probably from the second day, I was in the IT department in the application development section. And there was a PMO on the section level, and probably was the very first PMO on the level of all government entities, even though it started very small for only application development section, not the whole ITD. But it started way early when there was no one talking about PMOs at that point of time.
Right.
And from the second day, they told me we need fresh people coming in, joining us as members in the PMO. And I learned so much from that section. Then afterwards, I was handling the application development section. And then the IT PMO grew bigger. I also took part in the IT PMO establishment. I handled the IT PMO for about 2 years. Then I handled the section application development section for about 2 years as well. So in Dubai Municipality, the very first form of PMO was in the IT department since 2005. And then probably until 2018, there was no big we tried to convince the higher leaders to create an enterprise PMO, but they were not convinced. In 2018, there was a major shift in the organization. The director general changed, and he came with this approach that there has to be a PMO, there has to be an enterprise PMO on the level of the organization. And he was at that point comparing with other government entities who created enterprise PMOs, and they were mature and well established. So in August 2018, suddenly there was like an announcement on the email, Heba Al Shehhi is going to handle the PMO, the enterprise PMO. I was shocked. I told them, I need budget, I need team, I kind of panicked. And I think God chooses the right moment. I was going to resign from Dubai Municipality. I had another offer, and it just came in the right time. And I thought, okay, even though the offer had like a major difference in salary, higher salary, different organization that was really booming, but I thought, you know what? I've been in that PMO field since the second day I was hired. I don't want to let it go. I understood that project management and PMO is my passion. So I left that offer and I went for the enterprise PMO. And immediately we started with knowing where are we in terms of project management? What kind of projects does our director general want to follow up on or want to see under his umbrella? And it was all of the project.
Wow.
Let's say I learned so many things about construction project, infrastructure project, storage projects, and it's not my field at all. I was a programmer initially when I was in the IT department. So a completely different field, but all of the projects under the municipality became under that PMO.
So
and we took that journey.
That raises a really, really key question, which just so everybody knows, we did a little bit of preparation. So I've got a list of questions here.
But I didn't read it.
No, that's all right. No, you're fine. I've got a list of questions. We won't get through them all, but that's okay. But one of the things that you just said that I think is really interesting, and I think Jonathan was just beginning to scratch on this with his question in the chat as well, is so you've come from being a coder, and then you did a bit of project management, PMO.
I didn't like coding at all.
But here's the key thing, right? Now you're in a business leadership role.
Yes. And more of a strategic role as well.
There you go. So for people who are making the transition into the PMO, Is there any advice you would give them about broadening the skill base and learning about the business strategy, all that kind of good stuff? I mean, what did you do to bridge that gap? Because it's a fundamentally different role, right?
Yes, exactly. But it had to happen because there is this basics of project management that I learned as a coder, as a programmer, as a member in projects that are related to the like a mobile app project or website project or all of that. Being a member and taking my time and being patient and learning all of these steps, being a project management or part of the team, it kind of gave me that background for me to move forward and then progress little by little. And I had good bosses. I had really people looking out for me and for all of the young members who were joining at that time, and for them to kind of put me in two places, be in the PMO, also work as a coder at the same time. It gave me, like, I was one of the lucky ones. I don't think this happens normally in many organizations, but I did have two different views at the same time, and it was important for me. So if you want to move to the business side, to the strategic side, there is the basic sides that needs to be covered. And I think the young generations now, they are not very patient. They want to be leaders, be managers immediately without taking that experience of being in the field, working with projects, understanding everything, not just from trainings or certifications, from being on the ground. That's really important. It gives them this technical background that very much needed in project management, even if it's like a small percentage.
So Stuart Taylor just asked an interesting question, which is, when did you realize that you could put yourself forward as a candidate for being a PMO leader? It sounds like you didn't.
I didn't. But because people knew my work in the IT department when I was leading the IT PMO, and they knew my work as application development head of section in the IT department, and I was managing projects. So the director general, I dealt with him in a mobile app project before he became director general. So he knows my skills. And his office leader also, she was a great support, and she recognized that there are potential. There were other candidates as well, but I didn't even know they selected me until the announcement came.
Excellent. Okay. There are a couple of people asking about project prioritization. That's what we do as a company, Transparent Choice, is project prioritization. We will probably touch on that as part of the conversation today, but that's not the focus of what we're doing. So those people are typing that in. That's brilliant. I'm delighted you're excited by that.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it, and we'll cover a few other things. First. So I'm really interested by something you said, Heba, which was that there wasn't a huge amount of interest in the enterprise PMO until along came a new DG, right?
Yes.
Then what happened? Because this is one of the key challenges for any PMO leader, is how do I get the attention and maintain the attention of the leadership team, not just the director general, but everybody that you need to be brought in. So having the DG brought in helps, but how did you get the rest of the team brought in?
Okay, so I had a change management strategy set from day one, and I recognized all of the stakeholders. We had like a secret plan of knowing where are they in terms of their support to the PMO. Are they big supporters, or are they against the PMO idea? What's their power? What's their impact? So the full stakeholder analysis was done. They didn't know we were doing that. We were just having with them meetings as much as we could, trying to find out where they're coming from, what's their backgrounds, and I was talking about all of the head of departments that were there at that time in 2000. Oh, sorry, that was early 2019 when we started, and the CEOs that were there. So based on that, we put communication plan for each one of them. And even though it took a lot of effort from my side, because all of these higher managers, they want to meet with me only. They don't want to meet with the younger PMO leaders. I have to ensure their buy-in face-to-face or by phone, or trying to make sure that everything they want is fulfilled. And at the beginning, there was resistance, especially that many of them were there in Dubai Municipality for a very long time, doing things without that enterprise PMO. It was only the Director General that changed, and these were the same until he came, and he also made a few changes later on. So for me to change their minds, it was hard. However, I think I do have a success story. One of them who was really resisting. He said, "Why do we need PMO? Why do I need to use a system? We are managing perfectly fine with the reports we're sending to the Director General, with the Excel sheets. We don't want anything." And this is the guy I kind of focused on. I tried to show him quick wins from the system, to show him what are the benefits that he could be using in his own reports, how he can measure the success of the project manager or even the head of department. So after probably a year from that journey, he pushed all of his employees and his departments to use the system for other aspects. So even for operational work, he said the system is perfect for project. I'm happy with it. Let me cover other aspects. I want everything to come in the dashboard you guys created for us. So it was amazing to see that transformation. It took a year. And we did jump in maturity in project management. So we started in project management. It was probably 1.2 out of 5 in maturity. And we reached to something like 2.3 within a year. Wow. So it was a full jump of maturity in project management. Portfolio management jumped also one level. The next year, we also jumped again and again. So it is a continuous effort when it comes to change management. We didn't stop at that point. We just kept going. Yeah, whenever we felt the people are kind of taking a back seat and resistance is coming, or projects are not being entered in the system, or suddenly they come out of nowhere. So we activated that methodology again in terms of change management to try to see what's their actual problems. Why is it happening like this? So this is like maybe that's a culture thing also, just to give you an idea. Here, some of the leaders, and maybe others don't agree with me, but they do like surprises. So if a head of department has a project they're working on, they just keep it secret. Let me work on it, put all of the effort I can, and then surprise, DG, I want to show you something that I created. But that's actually wasn't the thing that impressed the Director General. He wanted things to be arranged. He wanted things to be prioritized. Things are clear from the beginning. Why are we putting efforts and stuff that could be not matching to our requirements, not aligned to our strategy? So he wanted everything to be very clear from the get-go, not to be surprised also towards the end. So that kind of culture is removed from the
kind of change in the culture is important. Well, so I just want to summarize some of that again, because you gave the answer that is just the perfect textbook answer. If you talk to people like Laura Barnard, or I think I saw Louise Gardner on here, and I think Pedro Bolso's on here, and I've had this conversation with all of them, right? And the key thing in getting that case for change is not just building the business case, but understanding person by person, what are the wins, and then getting some quick wins, and then making sure everybody knows you got the quick wins, right? So one of the questions people are asking is, what are the tricks to success? What are the critical success factors? And I think that's one of them, right? Is getting those quick wins and getting the exec sponsorship.
Exactly. And it's the courage to change. So not only we have a change management strategy, yes, but there is an element of the human aspect, let's say, where
Right.
we are courageous enough to change. And that's the thing that we were trying to convince people to do, especially with the whole new strategy that was set at that time in Dubai Municipality, a whole new director general who had his own ambitious ideas, and people living in Dubai, they will notice how these projects in the past 5 years really affected Dubai, how Dubai became so green in the past 5 years in a rate that was really, really very fast. And it's all because of the project management aspects that were that we were courageous enough to change.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's fantastic. So one of the things that you mentioned a minute ago was around alignment with the strategy, was around prioritization and making sure that you know why you're investing in things. So let's dig into that a little bit, because that's something people struggle with, obviously. So I'd love to hear how you do it, and in particular, how you deal with the fact that you have lots of different departments, all of who want different things. And to make it even more complicated, as a government body, right, you can't just use the profit and loss statement as your guiding star, right? You've got to take account of, you know, the services to the people and all those kind of things. So just talk a little bit about how you do that process. I'm not really interested in the tools and things, right? It's more the people and the process and the engagement that I think is really key.
Sure. So in 2019, one of the committees that we introduced was the Project Approval Committee. Previously, it wasn't there. So previously, each department submitted their project ideas to the excellence excellence department, and it was forwarded to the finance department if there is budget related, and one list is provided to the director general for him to approve. We thought there has to be some governance body that's reviewing, because finance department could submit their own projects. Excellence department, they have their own project that they want to create, and there weren't any prioritization criteria. There was something very minor, let's say. So we thought, let's first create these prioritization criteria. We worked on 9 criteria, and the way we implement them is through the project approval committee. So the very first step is that business case is being filled through the system by the requesting department. It's being reviewed by the implementing department, and it has all of the information that the project approval committee needs for them to decide whether that business case or that project idea is valid to run this year. And the prioritization criteria are also automatically derived from the business case. So once the project approval committee reviews all of the business cases, we can run a portfolio analysis report and find out which infrastructure project is more important for us this year. So that's high level. In terms of the criteria, first of all, as any other government entity, we have our KPIs, strategic KPIs, we have operational KPIs. If some KPIs are being affected, if a KPI is red and we need immediate interaction, immediate action that's being taken for a certain KPI to improve, this is one criteria. What's the status of our KPIs? Where do we want to reach to? So the greenery KPI was one of the KPIs that were, whenever we introduce a new project that's related to greenery, it's linked to that KPI. And we keep measuring, are we meeting the target or not? So this is one criteria. The other criteria is the risks of not undertaking the project. So what will happen to the Dubai Municipality if we didn't go through with this project? What will happen to the reputation of the entity? What will happen to its services? Are they going to stop? Are they going to stop partially, fully? So each criteria I have to open a presentation to show you, but each criteria has like a scale. What's the effect of that criteria? It could be extreme, if it will affect the reputation very badly, if it will stop all of the services, if there will be huge risks, then it takes the level of the extreme. There's extreme, high, medium, low, and no effect of the criteria. So this is the second criteria. There are criteria related to financial aspects. So if the project will introduce operational, will introduce revenue for Dubai Municipality, if it's PPP project or any type of other project that could be shared revenue. If it will cut the operational costs. So the more value it will cut, the more it takes in the scale of the extreme, and it takes higher priority. What else? We have 9 criteria, the strategic alignment as well. There are certain, let's say in terms of strategy, there are certain areas in the strategy that are a little bit more important than others, like the ones related to customer service. What's the effect of the project? The effect on people. The more it will affect, the more people it will affect. If it will affect the whole community, it takes a higher scale. So at the end, all of these criteria are set together, and then a score comes out for each project.
Okay.
And we review it from different sides of the finance, like the ones that are, they don't need any budget. We think about it in terms of human resource, in terms of whether we need it for this year or not. And if they want the budget side, we take the infrastructure budget, capital budget in a separate report, other type of budget in a separate report. So that's brilliant. Basically it. I hope I understood. Answered.
That's really good. So anyone that's interested in this, I could spend the rest of the time talking about this, because this is what we do every day.
One important thing that the PMO is a member in the project approval committee. So that's something that I noticed in the past period of time whenever I'm asking about PMOs and other entities, whether here or around the world. Sometimes the PMO doesn't have a seat at the table. And that's really important for the success of the PMO and the success of the organization, for the PMO to be weaved in those important bodies. The PMO, by the way...
So great. What do you think the PMO brings to the table?
If there are repeated projects, so the project approval committee, our role is to first check the sanity of the business cases. Are they filled correctly or not? And then we check whether there are other projects that are very similar that can be merged together. And we do have a KPI that measures the level of, let's say, I don't know the word in English, the replicated or repeated project. If once we find them, we have to resolve them immediately. So that's a huge part. We do give recommendations when it comes to merging projects into programs. We give recommendations, even the parts related to the benefits and values of the project that's being introduced. So, but not only that, being there, hearing from everyone, explaining their project in the committee, listening to what input is given by the externals department, input given by finance department, they are all members. Customer service, customer happiness department are also members. Now, asset management department is also a member. So all of these, they have their own views on the project and the idea of a project, and putting them all together and for the PMO to listen, it kind of broadens the span of the PMO leader. For me, it was really a huge experience. But not only project approval committee, we are also a member in the board, the board of directors of Dubai Municipality, which includes the Director General and the CEOs and some limited head of departments. So this is the strategic view of how the PMO from my point of view, it weaves very nicely with the strategy, with the higher management expectations, and this holistic view of the organization.
And coming back to that critical success factor, I imagine you weren't invited to sit in those meetings on day one, right? You had to earn that place, right?
The project approval committee was the idea of the PMO. So there was no way they wouldn't put us in the as members. So it was part of the PMO establishment. It was part of our study. So we did a study of what we needed and what are the weaknesses and strengths of the project management framework, portfolio, and program management. And part of that study, or the output, was we had to have governance body for portfolio, which was included under the board of directors, and another governance body to approve projects. So because it was our idea, they had no choice.
Oh gosh, so many different directions we can go. So I want to come back to that idea of governance in a second. Before we do, just really quickly, a few people are asking about criteria and things like that. Can we get the details? So if you want more information about criteria and things like that, put a note in the chat, and Lenora, who's one of my team, who's on the call, Lenora, if you can send those people a link to the criteria ebooks. So we've got a couple of ebooks. There's kind of the beginner version and there's the expert version. And so if you drop a quick note to Lenora there, she will send you that ebook and you can download it, and it talks you through what are criteria, what is a criterion, how should you put them together, how should you build scales, right? How should you figure out the weighting of the criteria? All of these things are in these ebooks, and there are some great examples. Heba, by the way, you've hit most of the main categories. You had systemic risk in there, you had financial, you had some short-term KPIs like cost reduction and revenue, you had longer-term strategic KPIs in there, right? So you nailed it, right? That's absolutely brilliant.
I missed a few, I'm sure. There were 9. I talked about probably 5.
No, you did really well. You nailed it. So if you want that book, just ping Lenora and she will get it to you. So on that, I'm going to tear myself away from my favorite subject, which is project prioritization, and come back to this idea of governance. Okay, so you started talking about governance structures, and again, we're sort of weaving the critical success factors into this. Would you say that that's one of the success factors, is having clear governance?
Clear roles and responsibility across all governance bodies, not only the bodies that we introduce. So we had the steering committees on the level of project. They didn't know where do they fit, what's their roles and responsibility. Even the project manager is part of the governance, and his role wasn't very, very clear. So we clarified everything in our guidelines for project management, and we created a policy later on. And I think it's the clarity and transparency, let's say, how the communication is flowing across all of these governance bodies, and the fact that people were not hiding information from each other or from the second level or the lower level in the governance played a big role in the.
So I'm going to come back to the question we had earlier, right? Because now you're getting into something really tricky, right? Because you're getting into people and their territory and politics and all of these things. I don't want to tell you, I don't want to give you the information because then I lose power, right? So how did you build buy-in to governance, and how do you encourage people to follow those governance rules?
Yeah. So the Director General, really, he played a huge role in the board of directors, because I remember at the very early stages, he used to embarrass me by telling people, he is asking me, Heba, do you have that project? Do you know that information? Do you know that the project is delayed? is it reported to you? So in the board of directors, he gave me the power by asking me questions.
Nice.
As PMO. So starting from top to bottom, he created that culture. All of the CEOs, all of the head of departments, they listen to him, and they know that it won't be good for them to hide information. That's the first point. Second thing is when I create any reports until now, I get the information from different sources. I get from finance, what's their status financially for the project, contractual status, and I get the information from the implementing department and requesting department. Once everything is set in one report, I don't send directly to the director general. I take the buy-in first from the CEO, from the head of department that's implementing, and I sit with them. Once they see these challenges written, they kind of they tell me, but wait, give us 3-4 days. Let us talk to the team. Let's try to solve the challenges, or at least put a plan to solve it. Very clear plan in the report. Director General, yes, we have challenges that we are facing. We have risks that could happen in the project, but we did think about them and we have ways to resolve them. And then I sent the report to him. So they know that the report is they're not going to be ambushed with any of the reports created by the PMO. The reports help them more than any other, it supports them, it helps them. And most of the time, the Director General, he approves the reports. Not all of the time, he approves them. And he puts his own recommendations and comments. So yeah, I think it does help. This is the top, bottom, and bottom up.
So two things from that then. So the first one is that executive sponsorship is really important. And it's not just important getting set up, but it's important to keep it going, right? I think and to maintain
Exactly.
Yeah. And the second thing is, just like we said earlier, there's a theme emerging here, folks, right? It's all about people, and it's all about what's in it for me. So what, I don't know if some of you may have missed this, but what Heba just said is that it's not governance because governance is good for Heba. It's governance because governance is good for the executives, right? Yeah. Finding ways to make that governance a win for them is how you're going to get them to buy into that governance. So listen to them, learn what they want to achieve, and help them achieve it, right? Yeah. It sounds stupidly simple, doesn't it?
Well, there is another factor, actually, the PMO members themselves and how they are dealing with people, how they are they fighting with project managers to get the information from them, or are they supporting them, helping them to understand the projects and project management aspects and getting information in a friendly and very cooperative way? So it plays a big role. My PMO members, I'm very lucky to have a team that's, first of all, they have a great chemistry among themselves.
Right.
They complement each other very, very well. They are all qualified, and we worked on a huge plan to even upskill so many of them. We're still working on every year, and they have this great spirit with other people in the organization. Everyone loves them. I'll tell you one thing I learned recently. There was a guy who left from one of the departments. He left Dubai Municipality completely. And he said, he saw me in the corridor. He said, when I leave from here, I tell people I used to work in the PMO. He wasn't working in the PMO, but he said, because your team is so perfect, because your PMO team, everyone knows what's the reputation of the PMO, and everyone loves the PMO team. And it is a very successful team. I tell people I used to work with Heba in the PMO. So it was funny for me.
That's hysterical. That's brilliant. Yeah. Well, and actually, you've just sort of pulled out one of the other themes that I was hoping we'd cover, which is that whenever I talk to you, one of the things that I always hear is people, right? When you were talking to the executives, it was about having a plan for each person.
Changing them. Yes.
Right? Having a plan for each person. When you're talking about having this brilliant team where everybody complements each other, I don't imagine that is an accident. I think that's because you think about those people, you think about how to develop them, and you think proactively about how to build a team that works well. And having that team working well is such an important part of strategy execution, right?
It is. And thinking about the personal development plan of that team. So are they fulfilled? Are they doing the things that they love to do? Personally, thinking about the work-life balance aspects. You know, Stuart, I don't know whether you know that or not. I have a co-active coach in my team. So almost like a life coach in my team.
Wow.
And we introduced this role during COVID times because everyone was so stressed, and at home we weren't managing, at work we weren't managing. So we thought, let's introduce that role, that person that can bridge the gap between these two realms of, see, I don't believe in this separation of professional world versus personal. It doesn't work. We're not robots. There has to be some kind of bridge. And at work, the co-active coach was the one who helped us a lot during that period of time. Even when we had personal issues, a member had issues with her son, not knowing what he will study in the university, and he was stressed, and she was stressed. She was coming to work stressed, and she sat with the co-active coach, and they talked about the values, what they want to achieve, how to do that balance, how to deal with the pressure. The pressure can come from all over. We're humans at the end. Right. And let me tell you, Stuart, since you're talking about the human side of leadership, probably it's the first time I say it, I am writing a book right now. Yes.
Okay.
Finally, I selected the title. It will be A Force of Leadership, like a force of nature, because to me, and I think this comes from my artistic side, definitely, the elements of nature, the 4 elements of nature, remind me of leadership aspects. So in the book, I kind of tie the fire, the air, the earth, and the water sides in each one of them, and different leadership elements when it comes to PMOs. Hopefully, I will launch it in May or maybe before May. And it is purely focused on the human aspects, human elements.
That's fantastic. I'm so excited to get my hands on a copy. And so if you want me to read any drafts or anything like that and give you feedback, love to do that.
I have one ready. I'll send it to you.
Brilliant. Love it.
Of course.
Love it. Well, so this is really important, folks, right? So I want you to think about Heba's body language for the last 5 minutes. Okay. Now, up to this point, it's been quite a rational, logical conversation. But in the last 5 minutes, when we're talking about the team, Heba's been smiling, her body language is like this, the hands are going, right? Now, I talk to a lot of very, very talented, very successful PMO leaders, and every one of them responds like that, right? The ones who are successful think about the team, they care about the team, they care about leadership, and they've really understood that the PMO lead is a business team leadership role. It's not I mean, yes, there are technical aspects to it, right? You know, we were talking about criteria and how do you do prioritization. Of course, there are technical aspects to it, but the stuff that really matters is the human stuff. And, you know, again, I come back, Heba, to what you said earlier on about, you know, when you got the PMO role, you had another job. It had better money, but your passion was here.
Exactly.
Right.
And it paid off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know, I mean, everybody's seeing what I fell in love with now, a couple of years ago on stage.
Embarrassing me again.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. But it is fantastic. And I hope that everybody, I'm dwelling on it because I want everybody to be inspired by this. I want everyone to take that as a model for where they should get to. You
This
can't
is
get.
why I'm writing the book. I am writing the book basically because so many people on LinkedIn ask, what's the secret? Why are you guys successful? And from my point of view, it is the people. It's not about the process or the technology or anything on paper. It's what's here in the people's minds, what's in their hearts, how are they feeling, are they loving what they're doing or not? So it's I thought it's important. It is my responsibility to share it.
Excellent. All right, I'll tell you what, let's move on. We're going to have to leave that particular passion for now. Can't wait to see the book.
Okay.
And
Okay.
when it comes out, let me know, and we will have you on again so that you can talk about the book. Right? That would be,
Sure.
I'm so
Sure.
excited by that. I didn't know that was coming. So brilliant. Fabulous. So one quick question that's just come in that I think is interesting. We were talking about prioritization a minute ago, and I'm going to read the actual question here because I think it was worded in an interesting way. It'd be good to get your views on aligning strategic workforce plan with the overall strategic and investment plan. Is this something you're doing? And the
Yes.
implication is how. So talk about that a
Yes.
little bit.
So in the project approval committee, one of the members is the head of HR department. So when there's an idea for a project, all of the roles that are needed for that project is being set in the business case. So I need 2 analysts, for example. I need 3 developers. If it's created internally or not through a vendor. So all of these human resource elements is being set and identified from the beginning. And normally when we do that cycle, we do that 6 months before the beginning of the year. So even the HR department know what kind of vacancies they need to provide and whether the current needs of the organization or the current situation of the department is fulfilling their future need for the project or not.
Brilliant. That's super. Okay. I hope that's given a flavor of that one. Thank you. That's quite a technical area that people struggle with a lot. And they struggle with capacity planning as well. So I'm just going to take a second and say, if capacity planning is something that's interesting, watch this space, watch our feed over the next month or two. There are going to be some really interesting announcements around capacity planning. Advert finished, done, dusted. That's not what today's about. Today's about you. So here's the next bit. We talked about in preparation, we talked about the fact that doing prioritization, having a strategic plan, it's great. But if you never actually realize the benefits of those projects, then you've just wasted your time.
Exactly.
So how do we make sure, this is the biggest question, right? How do we make sure that those benefits actually get realized?
Yeah. So through the benefit realization model, let's forget about the system. Everything is there in the system. I can set the benefits. I can set the measures what's the target, what's the current baseline, when should it be measured. But then if there is no benefit owner, there's no ownership of each benefit and who will be measuring it and when are they going to be measuring it, it's not going to work. So it will be just information in the system that doesn't work. So let me tell you, recently we were in the Dubai Excellence Awards and the benefits were measured for all of the projects so nicely that it was like a very nice moment for me. Like after 5 years from the PMO, all of these projects that were run, all of their benefits were achieved and very clear. And even we thought about the direct benefit and indirect benefit. Like, for example, all of the service improvement project had indirect benefits for the customers, and after the projects were finished. It was because there is this huge sponsorship and there's ownership for these benefits from not only the implementing department, mainly the requesting department that knows the issues and the problems that in the beginning were the reason for the creation of the project.
Right. And so
it comes down to humans again. We
comes
kind of
down to
skip the
humans
system.
again. So
Yeah.
let's come to that sponsor a little bit, because this is something people really struggle with. Yeah, the benefit owner, I think, was the phrase you used. Other people talk about executive sponsors, or there's lots of different words that people use, but it's all the same thing. So one of the challenges that organizations often have is, you walk in and you say, ta-da, we're going to do benefits realization. And this means that you, Mr. Benefit Owner, are now responsible for delivering that. And what then happens often is that the execs go, oh, that's scary, right? I don't want to be the benefit owner. And then it all falls apart. So how do you stop that happening?
Away from the titles, so that you call it whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it, yeah.
Yeah, there is a gap in the organization, or there is a problem that needs to be solved. For us to solve it, we have to put targets, and we have to go back and measure, did we do that? It's all about where you're putting your resources, and are you wasting your time in that project or not? So it's the basics of project management, basics of measuring value. And we are all, probably this is also kind of in the culture of Dubai government organizations in general. Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, and the government of Dubai, the focus is the value. Focus is to create things that are really beneficial to the people who are living in Dubai. So the focus on value, it's instilled in every one of us. If I call someone a benefit owner, you have to make sure it's being delivered, because they know that this is really important. They know the importance of their project. They know what's their effect immediately on the customers who are living in Dubai or visiting Dubai. They take that ownership happily. So it's kind of linking their work, whether they are higher leadership or down to the workers.
That's really interesting. Is that something that is about the Dubai Municipality and the DG, or is that just Dubai?
It's Dubai government, Dubai in general, in all of its aspects.
Excellent. That's really interesting. I wish governments around the world followed that model. That would make a big difference, right? But anyway, that's a different discussion. We won't go down that path. But that's fantastic. So the benefits owner, how much authority do they have, right? Because if they're responsible for delivering the project and delivering the benefit, excuse me, not delivering the project, delivering the benefit.
Yes.
Because they're not the same thing, folks. If you're listening, those are totally different things. Delivering the project and delivering the benefit, completely different things. So if they're responsible for delivering the benefit, what do you need to make sure do they need special powers or authorities or something to make sure they can do it?
They have it under their own roles and responsibilities. So if I give you an example, the projects that are related to improving the services, if there is a benefit related to the customer happiness of that service, let's say the measurement of the customer happiness of a certain service is really low, and we need to achieve a benefit of taking it above the target. Benefit owner here will be the customer happiness department, which is responsible to maintain all of these KPIs to make sure that the customers are always happy and that we are meeting above the government target that's set by us. So they have clear responsibilities, and they know what are the projects that are happening right now that are affecting or touching service improvement. They have their own dashboards as well. We created their own dashboards for them. They know what's happening with all of these projects. So it is the clarity of the roles and responsibility of that department and other departments responsible for depending on the benefit.
Brilliant. So there's a really good book. Ross won't mind me saying this. It's not an exciting book, but it's a really good book
Ross
on.
Garland's book.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
So Ross Garland's written a book on P3G, so portfolio governance, project governance, program governance, and as I say, it's not an exciting book, and I have said this to Ross directly, by the way, but it's a really good book.
Really beneficial book, yes.
It's really good. It's clear, it's principles based, and so if you want to understand this thing about governance and benefit realization, it's an excellent book to go and read, and I recommend it to anybody.
I agree.
Excellent. So we are more or less out of time, which is a shame because we still have loads of stuff that we should be covering. I guess I've got one big question for you before we go. If you could go back in time and do one thing differently, what would it be? Yeah, you didn't know that one was coming.
No.
There you go, folks. You're not going to see this often. Heba stumped. Heba not talking.
Let's take it from how you manage your leaders. Probably something I learned over time. Argument doesn't get you anywhere. If you argue with your superiors or with your leaders or with whoever, director general or anyone else, it won't get you anywhere because you will probably win the battle, lose the war. So talking about your point of view, trying to impress them with words won't work. You have to go and try it out, give them a career sample. You know what, I had an idea, I tried it out, and this is the output. What do you think? This is much stronger. And I've done both. And I lost some battles, I won some wars, but it is something that I wished I learned long time ago.
Brilliant.
This is like just it happens if you're a PMO leader and dealing with all of these leadership
and
positions. You're bound to fall into that trap.
That's excellent advice, and not just for PMO leaders. That's just excellent advice, right? So,
Exactly.
So thank you for that. Brilliant. Heba, we've kind of got to the end of an hour. It's flown by, but on behalf of everybody who's still on the call, I just want to thank you for your generosity and for your humanity. You're an inspiration to me and to countless others. Every time I've been speaking to people over the last couple of weeks, they've been saying, "Are you interviewing Heba? You interview? Oh, wow!" Right. So you really are an inspiration to people. I know it's embarrassing when I say things like that, but you are.
No, see, I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, exactly. So we really appreciate you sharing your knowledge, sharing the wisdom, and most of all, sharing your humanity. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. Everybody who's
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you for being passionate about this.
Yeah, you have to be, right? It's important stuff. You can and you're the perfect example in Dubai, where you're actually literally changing the world. You were talking about greening the city, right? You're changing the world literally. So how can you not be passionate about that? That's
exactly
stuff. And it doesn't matter who you work for. When you're in the PMO and if you're connecting the strategy to stuff that gets done, if you're that engine, you are changing the world, right?
Exactly.
And that's why
I agree.
So everybody, thank you for joining us. Do go download that ebook. I saw a whole bunch of you clicking away on there. I just put the link or a link to a website that's got Ross Garland's book that I mentioned a minute ago. I can see a bunch of you going after that already. You know, anything else on prioritization, obviously just come to our website, have a look at that. And Heba, anything else from your side? Anything around the PMO Global Alliance that you want to cover before we go?
I want to talk just briefly about PMOGA UAE Hub. We are active. We're waiting for you to join us, and thank you all for attending.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. Farewell.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.